sign that later.
Okay, we'll go ahead and start. If you go ahead and stand. And Commissioner Gonzalez, will you lead us in a prayer?
Yes. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to gather as a group and conduct business. Father, we've got so many requests at this time of year. We pray in particular for our students. They're getting off of school, they're graduating and coming into the summer. Lord, protect them through this summer holiday and keep them safe, keep their families safe. We pray for our community, we pray for our businesses, and we pray for the business that we're going to be discussing in this meeting, Lord, that you come and help us to be wise in our decisions and that we do the best we possibly can for the benefit of San Juan County. Thank you. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Commissioner McDaniel, will you lead us in the pledge?
Yes, ma'am.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. If everyone will have a seat. So now I would like to have the sheriff come up and do his presentation, please.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, always great seeing you all, and very proud to stand before you today on a presentation. The San Juan County Sheriff's Office is pleased to announce the recent graduation of Lieutenant Tim Smith from the School of Police Staff and Command, which is an academically rigorous full-time 10-week management course for public safety professionals. Lieutenant Smith successfully completed the program as a member of Class 609. Which was held in Phoenix, Arizona from February 10th to April 25th of 2025. Since 1983, when its first class commenced, approximately 22,000 law enforcement office leaders have graduated from the internationally recognized School of Police Staff and Command program. The School of Police Staff and Command provides upper-level college instruction in a total of 27 core block of instruction plus elective blocks during the challenging course. The majority of the topics studied include such critical topics as leadership and management, human resources, employee relations, contemporary policing, organizational behavior, planning and policy development, budget and resource allocation, and media relations. Each student is academically challenged through written examinations, projects, presentations, quizzes, in addition to a staff study research paper that are all required parts of the curriculum. Upon successful completion, the students may be awarded a total of 6 units of undergraduate credit from the Northwestern University of Illinois. The San Juan County Sheriff's Office anticipates a very valuable benefits from Lieutenant Smith's participation in this program. Many of the program's graduates go on to serve in other leadership roles in their respective agencies. The Center of Public Safety was established at Northwestern University in 1936 with a specific goal of expanding university-based education and training programs for the law enforcement community. Since then, the center has broadened its original objectives and now provides a variety of courses and programs in each area, such as traffic reconstruction and other areas of management and leadership training for law enforcement. So present we have with us today Lieutenant Tim Smith, and also we have Lieutenant Dave McCall, also a graduate of Northwestern Staff and Command, and Kevin Burns, our captain, who's also a graduate. Oh, and we had Captain Clark show up also, who's also a graduate. So we're very proud of Lieutenant Smith. This is part of our executive training we do at lieutenant and above. So when they reach that lieutenant position, we look at some type of executive training for them, whether it's through the Staff and Command College or through the FBI National Academy. So we're very excited to have another graduate here. I also got to tip my hat to his family, to his lovely wife, Jamie, who got to hold down the fort for 10 weeks while he was gone. It may have been a vacation, but if it goes like everybody else who's gone for 10 weeks, whether it's to the NA or to the staff and command, everything that could go wrong with the house does. And she shared some of her experiences from broken down cars to things breaking inside the house, but she had plenty of numbers to call so we could get her the help she needed. But it was an honor to go out and watch him graduate with other law enforcement executives from around the country and see the camaraderie he built with this class, and also a great networking community that we have still expanding throughout the country and even outside the United States. With some of the resources we've been able to make in networking, we've been able to accomplish during these classes. So I'd like to congratulate Lieutenant Tim Smith. Congratulations, sir.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, it was a truly great opportunity. I got to spend my week between we had 10 weeks total. We did 5 weeks. We had a week off and then another 5 weeks. And unfortunately, my back porch roof suffered from the big windstorm. So about 2 days of my vacation was spent working on the house. So that's part of the fun that we had during that time. But no, it truly was a great experience. I am super thankful that I got to attend. The networking was great. The classes were great. Resource allocation was probably the most challenging subject. So hopefully we're not looking to redo beats or reevaluate our assignments anytime soon, because I don't know if I want a part of that. Yeah, reading out statistics was okay. I was most scared of that one, and statistics went fine.
That's all. I'm always afraid of statistics too, so that's a tough course. But congratulations and thank you for all your hard work. Can we take a picture with you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
It was the best time of year to go. And that being said, I don't want to live in there.
Nice.
My turn. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioners. We appreciate you all. Thank you for your support. Get a wheel on it.
All right, so thank you for that. Now, do we have anything to change on the regular agenda?
Madam Chair, we do not. The agenda is as presented
All
this
right.
evening.
So I'll go ahead and take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. So now I'll go through the consent agenda. Number 1 is consideration of regular meeting minutes for April 15th, 2025. 2, consideration of regular meeting minutes for May 6th, 2025. Consideration of FY25 budget adjustment number 14, resolution number 242576. Consideration of treasurer's check register for April 2025. Consideration of finance check register for April 2025. Consideration of award of bid number 242520, County Road 7900, full depth reclamation. Number 7, consideration for renewal of bid number 212220, cooperative price agreement for fuel card lot facility and bulk fuel purchases to Flyers Energy of Auburn, California and Synergy Petroleum of Phoenix, Arizona. Number 8, consideration for award of proposal number 242519, request for qualification-based proposals, Alien Run, Angel Peak Trail Design Services to ERO Resources Corporation of Durango, Colorado. Number 9, consideration of extension of lease agreement from Process Equipment and Service Company, Inc., Pesco of Farmington, New Mexico. And number 10, consideration of resolution number 242577, a water conservation plan. Do you have a motion for approval?
So moved.
I'll second.
Have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. All right, so now, are we going to have, is Megan?
Yeah, she's
Okay,
here.
Megan, come on up. We'll see, hear your proclamation. I'm glad you made it.
All right, yeah.
A little bit of
That
traffic
bridge on
jam.
Pinyon Hill, am I right? Okay.
So challenging.
It is challenging.
Mhm.
As I'm sure most of you are aware, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so we've fashioned a proclamation to formally acknowledge that. We're coming to the commission to ask your permission to adopt this proclamation. So I will read that now. Whereas mental health is part of overall health, and whereas mental health helps to sustain an individual's thought processes, relationships, productivity, and ability to adapt to change or face adversity, and whereas mental illness adversely affects those abilities and often is life-threatening in nature, and whereas 1 in 5 adults in the United States experiences a mental illness in a given year, with 1 in 20 being defined as a serious mental illness. Whereas early identification and treatment can make a profound difference in the successful management of mental illness and recovery, and whereas every citizen in San Juan County can make a difference in helping end the silence and stigma that for too long has surrounded mental illness and discouraged individuals from getting help, and whereas the Board of County Commissioners desires to increase awareness and public understanding of the importance of mental health, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of San Juan County, New Mexico, does hereby proclaim the month of May 2025 as Mental Health Awareness Month in San Juan County to increase public awareness and understanding of the importance of mental health and to encourage San Juan County citizens to seek identification and treatment of mental illness.
Okay, thank you, Megan, and thank you for doing that and keeping that on the radar that we stay focused on really one of our goals of improving mental health in our area. So, and I've seen the TV ads, and they're very well done. So,
Yes, thank you, Devin.
okay, very well done, Devin.
It's
So,
mentioned, yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
So, appreciate you being here. All right, so next on our agenda is presentation on the New Mexico CPACE program.
Madam Chair, we need
to
a-
vote on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
You have a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of the proclamation declaring May 2025 Mental Health Awareness Month, I move that we move forward with that and accept that.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, Megan. All right, now we'll move on for their presentation, and I believe we have Eric Christensen and Don Nicolini. If you'll go ahead and come up to the podium. If you'd like
Mr.
to.
Christensen's online.
Oh, Mr. Christensen's online. Okay.
I believe he's going to begin.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Here you go.
Hi there. Can you hear me all right?
We can hear you, Mr. Christensen.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Chair, Commissioners. So my name is Eric Christensen, and as you mentioned, Don Nicolini is there in person. We're here to share about the New Mexico CPACE program. My job will be to give an overview of the program as the program administrator for the state. And then Don will speak specifically about a project, the Exceptional Healthcare Clinic, that is hoping to utilize CPACE to finance improvements on their property. Before I move through the slides, I just wanted to kind of highlight the nature of CPACE. So CPACE is a program that finances improvements to commercial properties. And all of the funding comes from the private sector. However, it does require involvement from local government in the form of the county and municipalities, who are required, if they would like the program to operate in their jurisdiction, to pass an ordinance for counties or a resolution for municipalities. And the reason for this is because local government facilitates the placement of an improvement special assessment lien on the property. And this is how the financing is then repaid over time. So I just wanted to kind of share that before I go through the slides, and would be happy to take any questions as we go through it or at the end as well. So as I mentioned, my name is Eric Christensen. I work for Adelante Consulting. We're contracted by the state's Economic Development Department to serve as the program administrator for this program. And so commercial property assessed clean energy is what CPACE stands for. As I already mentioned, it's an alternative source of financing for improvements to commercial properties. So this would cover the direct and indirect costs related to reducing energy or water consumption, generating renewable energy, or building resiliency. And so building resiliency could be anything to do with stormwater management, wildfire, materials that would make a building more wildfire resistant. Those types of measures would fall under resiliency. And so eligible properties include any privately owned commercial, agricultural, industrial, or multifamily property of 5 or more dwelling units. So that's where we have a slight overlap with residential. If it's a multifamily property of 5 or more dwelling units, it would be eligible for CPACE financing. And this also can be a property that is owned by a not-for-profit organization. Just to give a few numbers connected to CPACE, which runs across the states, there's over 90 CPACE lenders that have funded over $7 billion on over 3,000 properties across the country. And then I'll move through this slide very quickly, but it just kind of indicates where active programs are located, and New Mexico being one of the newer programs to have started. So how the program is established, first the state has to authorize CPACE by passing a statute. This was done with the Improvement Special Assessment Act in 2023. We were then brought on board by the state's Economic Development Department at the beginning of 2024, and we were able to launch the program in April of 2024. So it's just been over a year since the program has been active in New Mexico. And as I mentioned, counties and municipalities are then required, if they would like the program, to opt in through legislation. And I'll get more to any responsibilities that counties would have later in the presentation. I won't spend a lot of time on this slide, but just so that we're aware that all of the funding comes from the private sector. Counties are not responsible for any of the funding. Also, the way the program sustains is that we take an administrative fee whenever a transaction closes. Otherwise, all of our services are free. And I'll get to that a little later in the presentation. I'm not sure how clear this slide is, but I wanted to give a general overview of the flow for an application process. So as I mentioned, the property owner and capital provider would first come to terms. That's a private sector negotiation. Once they have agreed on those financial terms, they would then approach us as the program administrator and submit their application. In the top right corner, I've highlighted some of the key documents that would be required for an application. So we have an application form that includes a checklist. Lien holder consent would be key, and I'll get to that in a few slides. And then there would also be a certificate of eligible improvements completed by typically an engineer who would verify how those improvements fall into the eligibility criteria for the program. Once we've received all the documentation, as long as it matches what is required by the state, we're not turning folks away. So once they have all that documentation in, we would approve that application. We would then notify the county. The county has a designated representative. Typically, that's been in other counties in the state, has been the county manager who would sign off on 3 closing documents. And as I mentioned previously, this is what facilitates the placement of an improvement special assessment lien on the property. And then at that point, the lien could be recorded. That recording can either be done by the county or it can be delegated to the lender. At that point, we would consider the transaction closed. The capital provider would disperse all of the funds to the property owner, and then the capital provider would be responsible for billing and collection. So again, the billing and collection would not fall on the county. And then of course, when the repayment is complete, then a release of lien would be recorded on that property. So some of the typical measures funded by CPACE, and I have a few case studies from the state that I wanted to highlight, and you'll see these repeated, but lighting upgrades, HVAC systems, building envelope, any water conservation methods, boilers and hot water heating, those are your typical measures that are financed under CPACE. And I mentioned that there's, possibilities for renewable energy and for resiliency measures as well. So the general CPACE benefits are that it can finance up to 100% of direct and indirect costs. For larger projects, oftentimes lenders will have their own internal threshold of how much of a capital stack they're comfortable to cover. But from a program standpoint, it can finance up to 100%. Fixed interest rates, up to 30 years to repay. So that's another huge benefit is it can be spread over a significant period of time. It has a 3-year look-back period. So CPACE can be utilized for a retrofit building. It can be utilized to finance a new construction, and it can also be utilized to cover improvements that have been completed within 3 years of an application being approved. So it's very flexible in that way. As I mentioned, it's secured by a property lien, so it doesn't require personal guarantee. This also means that it can be sold by the property owner, and the CPACE transaction or the lien would carry on to the buyer. And it's also non-accelerable in the event of default. Just looking at various stakeholders involved. So for a property owner and developer, it's really about overcoming those upfront costs of a potential project, increasing the property value, lowering operating costs through energy efficiency measures. And as I mentioned, it is transferable upon sale. For a county, this is the way it's viewed is it can be based on job creation, depending on the type of project. Enhancing the value of local building stock, increasing the resiliency of buildings within a particular jurisdiction. And I would say to a lesser extent, depending on the project, could increase property tax payments slightly. From a capital provider's perspective, and again, this goes back to the unique feature of CPACE financing, which is the improvement special assessment lien. It gives the investors stronger security due to that lien on the property. And so that's really what allows them to offer more competitive rates. And then, of course, increase collateral value and cash flow related to the project. And then finally, for existing lien holders, and this goes back to the application process. I mentioned that lien holders have to give consent if there are lien holders on a property. And the reason for that is because the improvement special assessment acts similar to a property tax. And so the way that it would work is property taxes would come first, then it would be the CPACE financing, the improvement special assessment, and then it would be lien holders. So because it'll be superior to lien holders, they would have to give consent for it to be utilized on their project. These bullet points are kind of the pitch as to why they would do that. So again, it's enhancing their property value, improving the building's longevity. If you look at CPACE financing across the US, there's a really low rate of default. So it's not taking a huge credit risk to increase their collateral. And then again, they're not cut out of the picture. If a lien holder decides not to give consent, then CPACE wouldn't be utilized on that particular project. I'll move quickly through these frequently asked questions slides. Just to highlight where the language is in the statute or in our own program guidebooks. So here, with the question of seniority of lien holders, you could kind of refer to the exact language that can be found in the statute. In terms of liability for local government, throughout both the ordinance, we have a sample ordinance that counties can utilize, and in the statute, there's language that ensures that a county is not liable in any way for the debt of the property owner. They're not a third-party obliger. They're not pledging or lending their credit to this particular project. So that is a key element for counties to be aware of. And as I mentioned previously, and just to kind of highlight the county's role, so other than passing an ordinance, the county's role would be signing off on the closing transactions whenever we have reviewed and approved an application. So we take a lot of the administrative burden off of the counties, which is why the Economic Development Department from the state decided to hire us as a contractor. And then really the county's job would just be to sign off on those closing transactions. And then I covered billing collection. This is done by the lender. Interest rates are determined in between the lender and the borrower. So I'll just skip through this slide. I mentioned an administrative fee. So the administrative fee for our program is 1% of the total financing amount, but it's capped at $25,000. And so that's what funds our program. And then it would be important to kind of mention the responsibilities that comes with that. So over this first year, we've really been supporting counties and municipalities who are interested to opt in through legislation. As I mentioned, we have sample legislation that a number have utilized. We process project applications. We provide educational outreach both to local government, but then also to property owners within a jurisdiction. And then we do provide semi-annual reports to all jurisdictions that have opted into the program. Moving on to just updates for New Mexico. So this is over the course of our first year. Counties that have opted in so far include Bernalillo, Santa Fe, Taos, Donna Ana, and Los Alamos. Municipalities that have opted in include Albuquerque, Taos, and Santa Fe. And there's a number of others that are this possibility. I was presenting to county commissioners in San Miguel County just last week as well. And I also wanted to kind of highlight the transactions that we've closed. So our first transaction closed in Santa Fe County at the end of last September. This was with the Bishop's Lodge Resort, and we've closed 4 transactions since the beginning of the program. A number of lenders from out of state are excited to support projects across New Mexico. Many of them have a threshold, so they'll finance around $500,000, $1 million and upwards of projects. We are also working with a number of lenders in state, local banks to see if there's an appetite to support small to mid-sized projects. One of those organizations that has shown a lot of interest is the New Mexico Climate Investment Center, the Green Bank, and they are looking to really support projects that are under $1 million. So we're really hoping to cater to all types of property owners and all types of sizes of projects. And I won't go into great detail here, but folks can refer to the slides for the nuances of each of these transactions. I did want to highlight that this first one, Bishop's Lodge, was very unique in terms of the size. It's not a typical CPACE transaction. This was $76 million over 25 years, recapitalizing on energy and water efficiency improvements. And then I'll just kind of skip to the next slide. It'll list the types of improvements, and you'll see these repeated. So we're looking at interior, exterior lighting, high efficiency HVAC and domestic hot water systems, high performance building envelope, low flow plumbing fixtures, and then specific to their project, they had a wastewater reclamation facility. And then there's resulting annual utility savings that are listed there, both the cost, the electricity and water savings that you can take a look at. A few of the others, and I'll just kind of mention where they are and kind of the general amounts, but this was also in Santa Fe County, more of a typical transaction, $10 million over 30 years. This was the Modern Elder Academy, an event and retreat center. And then again, the second slide here will kind of list the improvements and the resulting annual utility savings on this project. The third transaction we closed was a boutique hotel in Taos County in the town of Taos, $5 million over 25 years. Again, a refinance of a renovation on a historic hotel building there that we were excited to support. And then again, we'll list the improvements and kind of the resulting annual utility savings from that project. And then our fourth transaction, which we just closed a few months ago, was in the city of Santa Fe. This was our first multifamily property transaction that closed, $15.9 million over 27 years, the Rancho Santa Fe Apartments. And so this is a new construction that is just getting worked on and should be getting underway very soon. So that really concludes. I mean, we have a website where we list all of our documentation and of course our contact information, but that's hopefully an overview of the program. And I would love to turn it over. One of the reasons that we reached out was because of the Exceptional Healthcare Clinic that's hoping to utilize CPACE financing on their project in Farmington. And Don Nicolini is there in person to share a little bit about that project. And I'll stick around in case there's any questions afterwards.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Christensen. Are there any questions for Mr. Christensen at this time?
No.
Okay, Mr. Nicolini, thank you for being here. It's nice to see you in person and to hear about next steps. So if you'd like to go ahead and tell us.
Thank you very much. Excuse me. I did notice also on the previous screen, we were joined by Lauren Biller. Mr. Biller is with the PACE Loan Group. He will be our capital arm. He'll be here to talk about dollars, if you have any of those types of questions.
Okay.
So going back to I got here a little bit early. I printed my PowerPoint for you so that I can run through it. And tonight, when you get home and you're having a cocktail before dinner, you can flip through it again.
Thank you.
Wait a minute, I didn't say that out loud, did I? So I'm here today representing Exceptional Healthcare. I'm Vice President of Development, and I'm sure you're aware we currently have a new facility under construction in Farmington. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about who we are and where we're coming from. Exceptional Healthcare is based in Dallas, started in 2015 by a group of doctors that felt the synergy in freestanding ERs. They started out in the Rio Grande Valley up against the border with Mexico and ended up ultimately owning 14 facilities throughout the state of Texas, which we sold last year. During the process of their growth, they came across a USDA white paper that talked about the lack of healthcare services being delivered in rural America. The white paper offered no solutions, pointed out the problems. So these doctors got together and started kicking around the idea that ultimately became Exceptional Healthcare Community Hospitals. For a layperson, you can think of us as a building divided into three parts. On one side, we have emergency exam rooms. If you need to stay overnight for observation, we push you over to the other side. In the back of the house, we have all of the modern imaging suites, labs, pharmacy, warming kitchen, the part of the operation that you don't see because the patients aren't back there. If you would go to, this is actually a photograph of our facility in Maricopa. We opened up Maricopa and Yuma first, and because of the overwhelming acceptance by the community of the concept, we then expanded. So that facility, and you can see that is a CareLife helicopter. For the purposes of the picture, they may be a little too close to the building. But in those severe emergency cases where somebody needs to be life-flighted, when that decision is made by a healthcare professional, we do in Maricopa have a helipad for that. Next slide, please, sir. Oh, I must have skipped that. That's our mission statement. It's all about we try to do good and we try to stay focused on the patient. It's about patient care. That's us. Next slide, please. Do you wonder, what does a community hospital do? How does it differ from driving over to see my doctor? Number one, it is an emergency facility. It's open 24/7, and it's staffed by a physician that has a specialty in either emergency medicine or maybe a gastroenterologist. But the items that bring somebody in would typically be, I'm feeling something in my chest. I'm not sure what it is. I'm feeling something in my gut. I'm not sure what it is. And it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Your primary care physician's not going to be at the office, so you would come to our facility. You would be evaluated and then treated. That treatment depends on what the problem is and whether you need overnight observation or whether somebody diabetic is fighting getting used to their medications. We get them leveled off and we send them home. Exceptional Healthcare is not here to take away. We are here to supplement the delivery of healthcare services. If you look at the numbers, when you go to an ER today, you're sitting there waiting way too long. And that's everywhere across the nation. We believe we can address that, not only in Farmington, not only in San Juan County, but we have been successful in doing that elsewhere. The next slide shows the facilities that we currently have open. And you can see that we hope to open Farmington the fourth quarter of this year. I was at the site earlier today. We're moving along really well. The site looks just great. The next slide again goes into a little bit more detail about what would bring a patient into our door. Next slide is a rendering what the facility will look like when it's finished. And the next slide is a drone shot of what it looks like last Thursday. Last slide is site plan. And before I throw it open for questions, I've got to believe you're wondering, why did we choose PACE? It's real simple. My first degree is in chemical engineering. I was on a water and air pollution abatement team for the Dow Chemical Company before you could get a degree in environmental engineering. I've been an environmentalist my whole life. When I discovered this program that will allow us to design around energy and water conservation, I was excited. The design part is the easy part. The implementation part is expensive. I'll give you an example because it constantly shocks me. The HVAC system for our hospital to do the energy conservation improvements cost $1,200,000. That won't change. So I need help paying for it. Healthcare costs are already high. This program allows us to borrow money at a reduced rate. It indirectly addresses healthcare costs. That's why I'm here asking for your help.
Okay, thank you. And so we're thinking the building's ongoing right now, but you're talking about improvements. So this is kind of retrospective to what you were doing already, or?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So we as a company decided to risk our capital and to go ahead and start making those improvements. The lead time on an HVAC system today in America is 9 months. So a year ago, we decided to make that decision. But now I have an opportunity to recoup that. In addition, while we have been becoming accustomed to the neighborhood, we've added 4,000 more feet to the building just because we're listening to the neighbors come to us with ideas. So this money will help us finance that and carry forward.
Okay, so you've added 4,000. Does that mean that your footprint's going to grow for the second phase as well? Is that
Yes.
what you're considering?
Yes. The current footprint is roughly 21,000 square feet. If you look on that site plan really carefully, you'll see an additional 4,000 square feet in the back.
Okay, all right. And I see the helicopter. Do you have plans of a helicopter at some point?
Yes.
You do, okay.
The city of Farmington requires a special use permit, and that'll be one of my next formal steps.
Okay, and as far as right now, that next level of care, so probably you wouldn't send somebody home having an MI, and you're talking, I hear the word hospital and clinic. Are you an emergency clinic or emergency hospital?
Emergency hospital.
Okay.
A clinic doesn't have the ability to keep you overnight. We do. We have it staffed. We actually have, also in your brochure, there's an additional picture that shows the inside of the building. And you'll see in that one of our rooms.
Is it this one?
Yes.
Okay.
And in that picture, which I can't find, you'll see that that room's rather large. That couch makes out into a bed. We encourage our patients' families to spend the night with them. We want them to be comfortable. We have the ability to feed them. We got a big screen TV so everybody can watch Sesame Street together. We want everybody to be comfortable.
Okay, and as far as next level of care, what's kind of the plan if you need to send somebody out, if you get a trauma, or if you need to send somebody to have a cardiac cath or something like that?
What we always do first and foremost is enter into a partnership with the local hospitals so that they know who we are and we can trade back and forth. During COVID, we were a relief valve for the local hospitals. We were able to move patients quicker than they were. So in the example that you just used, somebody has a heart attack, we get them stable, and we realize they need emergency surgery. We're going to get them to the local hospital so that the cardiologist can perform that.
Okay, so is that something that you're working on currently, or is it something that you have in place for a transfer? I'm thinking ambulance, all that type stuff.
Those conversations have been ongoing for about 6 months.
Okay.
That's handled by a different department. That's handled by our operations.
Okay.
But we've already had the ambulance service and members of the county's emergency team to the hospital. The fire department came. We talked about getting into the ambulance bay itself, but also the circulation of traffic, and those are issues. At least 6 months those conversations have been going on, and they will ultimately end up in a formal written document.
Okay, and with that said, what is your deadline for being open? Do you have a deadline yet, or?
I'm pushing to be open the fourth quarter of this year.
Okay.
I am pushing really, really hard to be open the fourth quarter of this year.
Okay, thank you for that. And then I know our county treasurer had a question for you. It may be for Mr. Biller or Mr. Christensen. So do you want to ask that, Ms. Talby?
Madam Chair, thank you. Eric, this question is for you. Are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I just want to understand, because I've seen documentation kind of for the assessor's office and for Treasury. How will this directly affect either reporting requirements on my end, and what kind of additional assessor duties would it require?
Yeah, so my understanding is that you won't really be affected, and I would be happy to put you in touch with the assessor offices from other counties that have closed transactions, if that would be helpful. I think one point of confusion can be because CPACE in earlier iterations in other states, the repayment actually was done on the property tax bill. And so it would come to the county, and then the county would be responsible for dispersing it to the various lenders, which obviously was, a lot of work for the county to take care of. And so in newer programs in newer states, and a lot of the older programs are now amending their legislation, that responsibility is being delegated to the lender specifically. So it really functions like a typical loan. They would disperse the funds, they would be in charge of billing and collection. And so the assessor's office shouldn't have to touch anything. But if you had more like technical questions, I could also put you in touch with the assessor's office for Santa Fe County, for example, that's closed the number.
One more final question is, I believe I saw documentation of where we would have to report the special assessment on the tax bill. Is that accurate?
So my understanding from Santa Fe County is that they're not reporting it on the property tax bill, because they're just recording the lien, and then they're signing off on that transaction document. Again, that gives the responsibility to the lender, and then that's where the county ends with what they have to do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Talby. Thank you, Mr. Christensen. At this time, I'd like other commissioners, if you have a question.
Yeah,
Mr.
Madam
McDaniel?
Chair, if I may, Dawn or Eric or Lauren, if I could ask you a question, could you tell us a little bit about your proposed clientele? Medicare or Medicaid be accepted?
Yes, sir. There's a procedure that we have to go through where Medicaid and Medicare, they come in and examine the facility to make sure it meets their standards. There's also a 90 days of operations before you can actually send them the first bill, but yes, Medicare and Medicaid would be accepted.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Don, thank you for being here and thank you for presenting this to us. I've got a couple of questions, a few questions, but, you mentioned a helicopter.
Yes,
and
sir.
a helipad. Isn't there certain regulations of having two such facilities providing helicopter emergency services?
Yes, sir.
Within a mile of each other? Is that practical? I mean,
The answer again is yes, sir. So that is all governed by the FAA.
right.
And the FAA has already granted us the license for the helipad. Now what I will do is go to the city of Farmington, present that permit from the FAA, and ask them for a special use permit for the,
Okay. And also you said you were going to have interaction with administration from San Juan Regional Medical Center. That's the other hospital that's here. And have those discussions, have they begun? Have they been taking place as to how you're going to handle certain traumas, certain emergency, say a big accident or something like that, where you have multiple serious injuries? How are you going to communicate that kind of transportation, or who's going to take care of who?
that is a specialty in and of itself that's handled by Bruce McVeigh. Colonel McVeigh is our chief operating officer, and he would be the one that would handle overseeing that. As I mentioned earlier, it ultimately ends up as a formal agreement so that everybody knows exactly what their duties and responsibilities are.
How are those discussions coming along? Are they, I mean, where we at?
Oh, it's premature.
Are you you're planning on opening in the fourth quarter? I mean,
Yeah,
how's that
so
coming along?
they've started it, but those conversations happen at two different levels. One's the administrative level, and the other's the doctor-to-doctor level, if you would. And that's all going on the other end of the hall from the building where I am. I don't participate in the operations. I made an agreement with them. I'll build the building and turn it over to you. You don't tell me how to build the building. I don't tell you how to operate a hospital.
No, I can appreciate that, but I understand how complicated this can be. You know, when we're talking about lives here, and how important that is to make sure that our communication is crystal clear.
It is of the utmost importance. And those individuals that get involved in those conversations, it's second nature to them. They speak a language that I don't understand. They have a nomenclature I wouldn't even begin to try to guess what they talk about. But they do it.
I do get it. This is an emergency hospital as we understand it. You know, trying for me to wrap my mind around to understand exactly what we're doing here. You know, best service for our community is what's the most important. Will this be surveyed by the Joint Commission?
I'm not exactly sure. Again, that goes under operations. There are several organizations that come in and do inspections. Again, that's not in my purview. I build a building that falls into operations. I know that there's Joint Commission. There's another one that's an acronym that's like CHRIC. And there's CMS, which is the government for Medicare and Medicaid. Those organizations all come in and do their inspections after I turn the building over. You can think of me as building a building and turning it over, ready for occupancy. The use of the building, that falls under operations.
I understand what you're saying, but you know, I'm sort of partial to San Juan. I have a little bit of a background as being on the board at a hospital, and these are important questions that I think that we need clarity on them. As a commission, we need to have some clarity on these questions.
Yes, sir. I will put Bruce McVeigh in touch with you or in touch with Mr. Stark, and I'm sure he'll be happy to answer all your questions.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Nicolini. Do you have anything else that you'd
No,
like to ask? Okay.
other than I guess, I'm not sure if you asked the question the way I have it. Have you already entered into the agreement with San Juan Regional, or is that ongoing?
That's ongoing.
Okay. That was the only question I had.
Okay, all right. Any other comments or questions? Okay,
Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you very much.
thank you much for your time, and thank you, Mr. Christensen and Mr. Biller.
Thank you so much.
All right, now we'll go ahead and move on to number 3, consideration to apply for the Hire Vets Golden Medallion Program. Daniel Newman, Senior HR and Journalist.
Madam Chair, Commission, I'm really excited about being here to talk about this, so if it comes out, just ignore me for a few minutes. So I get the privilege to talk about the U.S. Department of Labor's Hire Vets Medallion Program. This is the only national federal level recognition program for employers for their meeting strict guidelines for hiring, retention, retraining, and supporting veterans in the workforce. To qualify for this, we're considered a large employer with over 500 employees. We're required to have 7% of all new hires for the year, all new hires, 7% of all new hires, which we're already meeting that at 24% this current year. And then 75% of those hired vets need to be retained for the 12 months. We also have to have a veteran resource group or a structured support program and demonstrate leadership development opportunities for veterans and be compliant with federal labor laws. Currently, as of right now, like I said, we're at 23% of all of our new hires are veterans. In 2024, we were at 11%, which exceeds that 7%. For the last 2 years, we're sitting at 14%. So with that, we're already showing that we've got a strong track record and we're meeting a lot of the guidelines already. However, we are short on the committee part, the veteran employee committee part. So I'm asking for consideration to be able to establish that as well as apply for the medallion program for the 2026 cycle, which begins in December. The veteran employee committee is gonna be a veteran. I mean, of course it's a veteran, but it's gonna be a voluntary employee program committee made up of different employees throughout the county and from our departments. And they're gonna do a lot of helping our veterans that are coming from the military side, transitioning into the civilian side, into the public sector side. Above and beyond that, they're also going to look at incorporating what they're doing into the community. So we're not just working with just the employees and the county, but we're also looking at trying to get into the community and represent the county out in the community. Yeah, and here's two key things I really want to bring out is that if we were able to be awarded this, we would be the only local government in the state of New Mexico that got this, and the only county in the nation that would be recognized with this medallion. So I really think that this would really put a big stamp on San Juan County and make us leaders in veteran organizations.
Well, thank you, Mr. Newman. In light of Memorial Day weekend is coming up, this is a very timely thing to be talking about, and definitely want to support our veterans. And thank you for saying that. I'm just curious, when you said that they'll represent in the community, what ways do you mean they would represent in the community?
So the vision of this is that they're going to be able to go out and do organized events. They're going to be able to do like the motorcycle rides if they want to, or the bicycles, or setting things up like that with other veteran organizations within San Juan County, or even other local places, to be able to, pull that community a little bit closer together than what it is now.
Okay, all right, thank you for that. Do you have any other questions or comments for Mr. Newman? All right, so with that, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the consideration to apply for the Higher Vets Gold Medallion Program.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a first and second. Any other comments or questions?
I'll through it.
Oh. Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you very much for
Thank you,
presenting
Daniel.
Chair,
that.
Commission.
All right. So next we have Ms. Wayne, consideration of application for variance from San Juan County Cannabis Ordinance number 120 for burning barrels. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Well, Madam Chair,
Oh,
I
is
always
it
like
you?
to give my spiel. No.
Oh. Okay, Joe.
You know, you're about to consider this application for variance. And we normally, the legal department normally requests the commission to be careful about the questions you ask, because that could have the effect of reconducting the hearing that's already occurred in front of a hearing officer. So I just wanted to let the audience know that if you don't hear the commission asking a lot of questions, it's really to protect the due process rights of the applicant who may not have had notice that a new hearing would be conducted. So if you could just rely on the evidence that was gathered by the hearing officer. But you've heard this so many times, but it's mostly for the public.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, Ms. Wayne.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, thank you for letting me present this on behalf of Community Development Department tonight. Brian Johnson, the owner of Burn & Barrels Cannabis, submitted a request for variance with the Community Development Department on March 27th of 2025. Burn & Barrels is seeking a variance from Section 3A of Ordinance 120, which is the minimum separation distance from a residence. As you know, there's a 300-foot distance requirement in the ordinance. Burn & Barrel is proposing utilizing an existing commercial structure at 870A New Mexico 516 in Flora Vista to operate a cannabis manufacturing facility. That essentially is a packaging facility for cannabis product. The proposed facility is within 300 feet of 2 residents. The applicant is seeking this variance to last the life of the business at this location. The Community Development Director has determined that the variance would not be contrary to the intent of the Ordinance 120, and staff is recommending approval of the variance based on there being no objection from the impacted residents, and the majority of the variance criteria has been met. A public hearing on this matter was held before Hearing Officer T. Ryan Lane on April 30th, 2025. The requested variance was not opposed by any of the residents. The owners of the closest residence, however, did participate in the hearing. They operate a short-term vacation rental out of that residence. They expressed concern over potential odors, but they were not in opposition to the variance being granted. The applicant did address their concerns at the hearing by stating he was unwilling to install carbon filtration system in the facility. Based on the findings made by the hearing officer, which are included in your packet, Hearing Officer Lane is recommending the variance be granted. Tonight, we're requesting the commission to decide whether to either approve or deny the variance. And if you do choose to approve the variance, staff would suggest consideration of adopting the findings and recommendation made by the hearing officer.
Thank you. All right, commissioners, do you have any comments or questions for Ms. Wayne? Nope. Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the variance of from San Juan County Cannabis Ordinance number 120 for burning barrels, 870A New Mexico Highway 516 in Flora Vista, New Mexico.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Wayne.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, we have Ms. Martin come up, a consideration of proposed FY 2026 interim budget. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. It's my pleasure to come before you to present a balanced budget. As always, I want to thank all of the department heads and elected official offices for helping me pull all of this together, because without everybody's participation, I wouldn't have been able to pull together this booklet. So the FY26 interim budget is due to the Department of Finance, or DFA, by June 1st of 2025. We have to submit it through their local government budget management system, or LGBMS. The budget documents will be sent to DFA after approval of this evening's meeting. DFA will approve the interim budget by July 1st, which the interim budget will then become our legal binding document until the final budget is approved. The final budget is due to DFA by July 31st. And after approval of the interim budget, additional commission changes can be addressed in the final budget, which will be presented for approval in July, as well as any other changes that the departments may have come across that they feel that they need to add. I will also be asking for PO carryovers for items that mostly capital items that they've put in for this year, but haven't received the items yet, and it'll push it into the FY26 budget. Budget adjustments can subsequently be made as operational demands come throughout the fiscal year after DFA approves our final budget by September 6th, 2025. So several updates were made to the budget following the budget workshop and prior to this meeting. One was at the request of the commissioners, the funding allocation for Shemont I don't know if I can say that word.
She wants psychosocial.
Thank you. I'd get tongue twisted very easily. Intervention, mobile food bank and pantry has been increased to $2,500. The result is an increase of the overall budget by that dollar amount. During the budget workshop, the sheriff proposed implementing longevity pay for certified employees. The tiered pay structure begins at 3 to 4 years of service and extends up to 23 plus years. The total estimated cost for this implementation, including associated para, Medicare, and New Mexico retiree health care contributions, equates to $419,357. This amount reflects the full budget impact of this proposal. It was identified during the budget review that the CJTA's director wages were inadvertently omitted from the Criminal Justice Training Authority's budget. Upon further evaluation, it was determined that the most appropriate placement for these wages is under professional services. This aligns with the current structure, as CJTA has only one employee and holds a contract with the city of Farmington for the director's services. At the request of the county clerk, a new revenue line item was added to help track marriage license revenue that they receive, and this is in coordinates with the legislation that becomes effective July 1st, 2025. And we're expecting the budget revenue to increase approximately $6,750. This budget also includes the Adult Detention Center request for a reclassification of one lieutenant position to an ADC captain. This adjustment will result in an increase of one captain position and a corresponding decrease of one lieutenant position, so their authorized positions will remain the same. A total budget impact for this change is an increase of $15,181. And with that, I will, there's also a spreadsheet that looks like this that also outlines all of the various changes, and you can see the total impact per department from the budget workshop to the commission to this meeting here. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Martin. Any questions or comments about that? I appreciate all your endeavors and hard work to keep this going, and especially it's a balanced budget. So
yes.
It reflects the needs of our community. So thank you very much. And so with that, I'll need a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of a proposal FY 2026 interim budget, I move that we accept this and move forward on it.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll move on to our county manager. What you got for us?
I've got a few items for you
All
tonight,
right.
Madam Chair. but I'll try to be quick. First one you have in front of you is just a reminder, we're in the process of conducting our infrastructure capital improvement plan citizen input meetings. We had one last week at Lower Valley Senior Center, and we have one here tomorrow night at 5:30 in this very room. So I just want to make sure that I know you all are aware of that, but the citizens, that's an opportunity for them to come and tell us about what infrastructure gaps we have in our community, in our county, and then that list ultimately gets presented to you. So
It's pretty well attended.
At Lower Valley, we probably had 30 to 40 folks in attendance. I'm just checking with Mr. Saavedra. So yeah, no, that was really well attended. The second item I have for you is just a reminder when you all agreed to make a pretty dramatic change for us upon the recommendation from Valiant Consulting Group to change our compensation system and move from a grade and step system to a salary band pay range system. That requires that we need to do some work with our handbook because our handbook was referencing the old system. So that's going to go into place July 6th, those market increases and the new compensation system. So as a result, we do need to get those handbook changes to you. So you might recall that's done via ordinance. So we'll have to go through a 2-meeting process to make that happen. Our next meeting would be June 10th and then July 1st. It would need to be adopted with an emergency clause so that we could have it effective by the July 6th date. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that, and you'll see that in front of you next meeting. We did hand out the summary of changes, and Ms. Wayne's been heading up that charge for us, and got that out to all of our department heads and elected officials today at our staff meeting, and requesting input on those just to make sure we didn't make any there are not any gaps or errors before we bring that to you. So the third item I wanted to update you on, and I had an opportunity to do it via email last week, but certainly for notice to the public. You might recall that for a few years now, San Juan County has offered the use of the north parking lot at McGee Park for the public to come on a first come, first served basis to light personal fireworks on the 4th of July holiday week, and depending upon where 4th of July hits, that might be both the weekend before and the weekend after, and those are on designated days and times. And the original intent of this program was to provide a safe, controlled area for folks to come to shoot off their personal fireworks. So this year, in preparing the emergency operations plan with our team, representatives from the Sheriff's Office, Emergency Management, Fire, Safety, of course, our office, trying to put together that plan. We did get the opportunity this year to have some data that wasn't previously available to us on visitation via the cell phone pinging. And we were able to determine that 8,500 people were actually in the parking lot on July 4th last year for that event. And needless to say, it was quite congested, and there were a lot of people there. There were actually 11,500 people who visited over that entire week, but the concentration certainly happened on the 4th of July. And so also had our team of public safety officials noting increases, both obviously in visitation, but also the carelessness of use of fireworks, some very close calls with vehicle pedestrian encounters, and then increased alcohol consumption. Even though we don't allow alcohol, it's forbidden on the grounds of McGee Park. Obviously folks will find a way to bring in alcohol, and so not a great combination when you have fireworks and alcohol and lots of folks in a very tight space. So to do our due diligence, given the just exponential rise in visitation that we've seen from the start of this program, we did reach out to our insurance carrier. The last thing we want to have happen is a situation where we don't have insurance, because there's the potential for some major activity, bad activity to take place. So we did reach out and got a response back on May 9th that unfortunately we would not be extended coverage unless we obtained a liability waiver from everyone entering the park, and they also could show proof that those individuals know how to safely light off fireworks. Obviously, that is not practical for the event that we're conducting in that open space. There would be no reasonable way or practical way to administer, such a program. So, given the risk, the liability, the financial exposure San Juan County would incur with the lack of appropriate insurance coverage, we would not be able to host this event unless we had such coverage, and that's not being made available to us from our current carrier. So we want to make sure we give the public plenty of notice. That's why I'm presenting this to you right now. Fireworks sales don't start until June 13th, I believe, is the Chief Vegas shaking his head. So that's when the fireworks vendors will start sales. The plan is to, the Fire and Rescue Department, as they're conducting their inspections of fireworks stands, would notify the fireworks vendors so that they're aware. And then, of course, we want to make certain that we do plenty of public messaging. We'll have message boards out at McGee Park to make sure folks are aware. During the week of the 4th of July, we will actually put barrels out to barricade off those parking lots that were utilized before. The Sheriff's Office and Fire and Rescue would be patrolling the parking lots to make sure we don't have folks in those areas. And then I know Mr. Neely has a press release ready to go so that we can provide as much advance notice to citizens as possible regarding this unexpected change. One of the things we're absolutely going to do, though, is to encourage citizens. We're fortunate to have a lot of great public display events here, to utilize those display events to go see fireworks. July 3rd, the city of Farmington will host their fireworks display. Bloomfield does their fireworks display on the 5th of July. And then this year marks the return of the Freedom Day Electric Lights Light Parade in the city of Farmington. That event has not taken place in a couple of years now. And so that will be another event that we can offer folks as a place to go. And we'll certainly try to get folks steered in that direction. So I just wanted to share that news with you tonight, and also share with you the plan that we put in place to be able to manage this news to the citizens, and more importantly, keep people safe during the 4th of July holiday. When they come to a county facility, there's an expectation of safety, and obviously our insurance carrier saw that would probably be very, very difficult and almost impossible given some of the requirements they had. So I can stand for other questions, and I do have one other item if you had any questions related to that. And I know Chief Vega, if you have any questions of him, could certainly answer those as well.
Well, thank you for the in-depth due diligence that you've done on this. I know you've really given a lot of time and thought, so thank you for that.
Yeah, I bring it to you, not with excitement, I can tell you, because it has been a popular event. It was our intention to absolutely continue this, but obviously the exposure we would have without adequate insurance, it's not a risk that the county should put themselves into.
Okay.
And the only other item I had was just a reminder, I actually mentioned it earlier, but just a reminder that June 10th will be our only commission meeting in June because of the rearrangement of the schedule with the New Mexico County Summer Conference. That will be a busy meeting because that's right before the end of the fiscal year. So we have a lot of contract and agreement renewals that hit in advance of July 1st. So you might want to schedule a little extra time for that meeting because that could be a long one.
Could be a long one.
All right.
And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you for that. Does anybody want to say anything to the county manager or questions? No? Okay. Well, thank you. So now we'll go on to reports from elected officials and department heads. And I just had one thing, is that this is Memorial Day weekend, and it starting on Friday morning, the Rotary Club of San Juan County is putting up 500 flags at the Boys and Girls Club. So that's our big annual event that we do. and it's very time intensive as far as planning as well as volunteers. So we hope you'll come out and enjoy that, drive by. On Monday at 6 o'clock, we are going to honor our fallen veterans, and we will have a ceremony at 6 to 7. So if you know anybody that is a veteran's family, whether deceased or they currently are serving, we'd really appreciate that they come and be there Monday at 6 o'clock. So that's my report. Do you have anything?
I don't have anything.
Are there any department heads that have anything?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Hello, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. On April 22nd, an election was held in my office to elect a representative to the New Mexico County's board. The representative was required to be a county elected official, and I am happy to announce that Chairman Terry Fortner was elected to the position.
Thank you for that report, and I'll be president come June. So thank you, Alyssa. Appreciate it. All right, any other department head? Go ahead, Roberta.
Good afternoon. I had to step out for a bit, scratch your throat. Madam Chair, Commissioners, we've been busy, really busy. This is our busy time of the year with salary market analysis and so forth. But one project that we have ongoing that we've been doing this is our 5th year, is the summer internship program. And this is administered through the New Mexico PED department. And so we started, it was a little not sure if we were even going to even proceed with this because of funding. It takes a while for them to administer the grants and give us our signed agreements and so forth. So, but we just got word, I think it was last month, that we can move forward with that and that we had some reserve from last year that they were able to allow us to start the program. So, and it's always a late start with them. So this year we said, okay, well, we're going to do it. So staff currently got the job posting. So what we do is we hire summer interns. We have adult coordinators, and it's a 20-to-1 ratio. So we have 4 adult coordinators that have started that we processed this actually yesterday. Excuse me. And then we have up to 80 interns that will be hiring. And they'll be placed throughout the county, different work sites, different employers, small businesses. We have some here at the county, as City of Aztec, and I think City of Farmington as well. Last I checked, we had, this is hits. These are individuals that are actually clicking on our job posting. We had over 3,800 hits.
So
of that, we have 159 applications that are actually submitted. And narrowing it down has been tough. They've been calling all these applicants, asking them additional questions and so forth. So again, our goal is to get 80 student interns employed. So that's an 8-week program. They'll start, like I said, the adult coordinators have already started, and they'll help us with the processing, help us go out and actually secure some more of the work site agreements from the different employers. But the students will start, we have them expected to start on June 2nd and run them through the 8-week program. So they'll conclude, I believe, July, either the 3rd week of July, they'll be done with theirs. And that'll give them at least a week or 2 off before they actually go back to the school year. So again, I just wanted to provide you some questions with some updates for the summer internship program.
thank you. That sounds like an awesome opportunity for these young folks. So.
Oh, yeah. And it's really exciting to see them come in because a lot of them, they don't qualify for other types of programs or internship programs. And they get 20 hours a week. Okay. Some of that is in classroom training to help them, like maybe how to write a resume, how to communicate. One thing that was added this year was the financial literacy to help them actually maybe keep a checkbook, do some bookkeeping and so forth. So it provides them some education as well too.
And that gets the word out what we do in the county too. So.
Correct. And really what we want to do is encourage employers to understand that it's not free labor. So it's right. Expose them to other employment opportunities in your area. For us, it's the county, and not everybody knows what the clerks do, what the treasurers do, what the assessors. So exposing them to those, and it's like, okay, yeah, I'm interested in that. We've had, I believe, a couple of interns that have continued with us from that program and that have become full-time employees. So it's a good program. They really love it. I know I've heard from some other employers as well too, and the students, some of them get hired on into a full-time and they were able to work through their school year and so forth. So good program.
Well, thank you for doing that.
All
I
right.
know it takes a lot of work, but it's worth it.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, are there any other department head reports? Okay, I don't see anybody coming up. So at this time, we'll open it up for input from general public. Comments are accepted in person, limited to 3 minutes, and to subjects to the commission has not previously discussed or formal action has not been taken. No formal action will be taken at this meeting that relates to comments or input from the general public. So if you'd like to come up the lectern and identify yourself, we'll take comments now, please. Hello.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, I want to thank you guys for allowing just the general public to be able to come up and speak. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Susan Furry, and I am the owner of Triple J Ranch Events and a resident of San Juan County. I wrote this out so I can just read it and I won't get sidetracked. On January 7th, 2025, County Manager Mike Stark documented that San Juan County holds a 10% ownership interest in the Farmers Mutual Ditch Company. And as you are aware, water is one of our most critical resources and among the most valuable assets we possess. The county's 10% stake in this irrigation company is literally worth millions of dollars in both market value and influence. Last month, Farmers Mutual Ditch Company held an election in which the county's representative, Mr. John Begstead, cast the deciding vote to elect Mr. Robert Lang as one of the 3 elected ditch officers. Mr. Lang has previously stated that one of his primary objectives is to change the voting system from one based on water shares to a 1-member, 1-vote model. At last night's ditch meeting, which I attended, only 1 month after joining the board, Mr. Lang formally introduced the exact language to implement this change. If approved in June, this would completely overhaul the governance structure that has governed the ditch for over 110 years. Specifically, it would reduce San Juan County's 10% voting power to less than 0.13%, effectively erasing the county's significant interest in this vital water resource and resulting in the loss of millions of dollars in voting rights. Mr. Begstead, whom you authorized to vote the county shares, has been openly supportive of this proposal. His position would allow someone with a mere quarter share to wield the same voting power as the county's 10% ownership. This is not only unjustifiable, it kind of borders on the negligent disposal of public assets. A vote on this matter is scheduled for the first week of June, and I respectfully urge the county manager, Mike Stark, and county legal counsel to investigate this matter more thoroughly and to act to protect the county's assets and fiduciary responsibilities to the taxpayers. The county's representative must act in the best interest of the county and its residents, not pursue a personal agenda that devalues our collective holdings. And that's it. So I just want to thank you all for your time and for your attention. I don't know, Mike, if you wanted the proposed changes.
That'd be great.
And I also have the 700 plus members that have shares in
You
the
bet.
ditch.
No, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ms.
Thank
Murray.
you, guys.
Okay,
I appreciate it.
thank you. If there's any other comments, public comments, I ask that you come forward. Okay, seeing then I'll go ahead and call the meeting adjourned.